Hi, I'm Aladia Mahomed. I'm a mom, a gran, and a CEO of my own brand, which I started during COVID. But more importantly, I am actually a victor of gender based violence. And the reason I call myself a victor is because I was one of the fortunate ones who survived, managed to walk away, and I am now sharing my story so that I can empower and uplift other women that are going through the same thing. I suffered gender based violence for 28 years of my life and two marriages. It started at the very early age of 15. And growing up, I was overweight and I had a lot of acne, and that actually made me feel and think very little of myself. So when I got the wrong attention in during my schooling career, it was like the best thing for me, and it was usually it was the good looking but bad boys who wanted me to do their homework and stuff. And I saw it as a form of attention. And I started dating the one when I was 16 years old, and it went on until I was older. And now when I look back and I remember the days when he used to walk me home from school, and when he was hugging me to say goodbye, he would like bite my shoulder until I was in so much of pain. And I didn't actually make a sound. So it was quite early in my life that I taught or trained myself to keep quiet about pain that people brought upon me. And eventually, we went out for a few years, and I fell pregnant out of wedlock. I had to obviously tell my parents. My dad was very kind to me, as he's always been and still is up until this day. And he said to me that I don't have to get married. He will take care of me and my child. And I felt otherwise, because being an Indian girl in a community where you knew people were going to speak, and obviously, you have this mentality of that you marry the first guy that you sleep with. And obviously, that was what I thought. And I told my dad, somehow I'm going to make it work, and he's going to change, and he will be a better person. And it was at that point in my life, I think, that I started believing that I'm a fixer and I can actually fix people and change them, based on the love and care that I showed them. Until the very first day after I got married, where I got my first slap. And that was only because I said I missed my parents. And from there, the roller coaster just started. The next weekend, he decided that he's going out on the Friday. And when I asked why, that was when he hit me again, because I wasn't supposed to ask. I was just supposed to iron his clothes, let him go. And he went out on the Friday, even after hitting me, and came back on the Sunday. And then I had to get all his stuff ready for him to go to work on the Monday. And this sort of became the cycle of my life. I wasn't employed then. I was at home being the good Indian wife, cleaning up, cooking, doing everything that I needed to do. And eventually I found a part time job where I was working, and that's when he started accusing me of having affairs. And, the only thing that I was actually doing then was taking care of myself because I was pregnant and having the job that I had, being at home, and there I was, the one being accused of having an affair. And a few months later, I had my baby. And nothing changed. In fact, it just got worse. The one day I lived in Durban then, so we were at the workshop in Durban, and I was walking with him, and he meets this girl, and he introduces me as his sister. And I was still young and probably naive, I would say, because when I look back then, I now ask myself, like, how did you even accept that? And when we walked away from her, I asked him. He says, no, no, it was just a joke. And it turned out to actually be a girl that he was working with, that he was having an affair with. It got to a point where we were just living together for the sake of it, even though we were newlyweds. We never went out together. I don't recall going to a movie with him or going anywhere. Then clubbing was like the huge thing, in Durban with all the nightclubs and everything. He went alone. He went alone everywhere. The Friday to Sunday thing became a norm. I started finding numbers in his pockets, and if I asked, I got hit for it. And I didn't get much support from his parents. They actually defended him, more so his mom. His dad gave me a lot of support, but his mom felt that everything was my fault. Everything that happened to me was my fault. The one day, I went with his sister to, we went just to watch a movie. And when we were on our way back, a friend of mine just greeted me, a guy, and somebody told him about it. And that night, I almost lost my eye because he came back. I was in the room. I just hear him closing the door, slamming it shut. He takes off his belt and he starts to hit me, but he hits me with the buckle of the belt. And I think I tried to move, and when I did, the buckle hit my eye. And at that point, his dad was banging on the door, trying to get him to open, and he wouldn't, and they managed to break down the door. And I think that for my dad was the most painful night for him, because he had to come and carry me out because I couldn't even see because my eyes were full of blood. And my dad took me to our family GP. And I remember the doctor trying to speak to me and asking me, like, why do you keep on doing this? And then I never understood, with everyone asking me, why do you keep on doing this? Because I kept on going back every time. I left him many times during our marriage. Um, Even fell pregnant, had a second child, and even falling pregnant then was him coming home one day from a really drunk night out and doing what he needed to do as a husband. And I couldn't say no because I was a wife, and that's how I fell pregnant. And it was during my second pregnancy, the one day we had an argument in the kitchen, and I remember him picking me up and throwing me out where I landed outside. And, up until this day, I don't even know how I survived, and so did my baby. And I gave birth to a very healthy boy. My first child is a daughter. 8 years down the line, I decided that I was going to leave, and that was just a few days after my baby was born. I decided that, this was enough. Went back to my parents and never turned back. We got a divorce. I was on my own for a while, stayed with my parents, just taking care of my kids. Life sort of just moved on, never really focused on myself. I focused on my kids because I felt that they needed me, and a whole lot of stuff was going through my head. And I think at that point as well, because of dating and then marrying someone straight out of school, I never really had the freedom. So I started also clubbing a bit, going out with my friends, my sisters, just having fun. And after a while, I met a guy, a really nice guy, wouldn't even raise his voice. He took care of me, wanted to take care of my kids. I told him everything I'd been through. And I just couldn't be with him because I needed someone who would actually abuse me. And I didn't understand then why. I ended up leaving the guy, where to the point where that guy cried the whole night on our telephone. And then we had the telecom phone, so I was speaking to him on the phone, and where I even eventually left it aside, and I could hear him crying because that's how much he took to me and my kids. But to me, it meant nothing because he wasn't giving me what I want. He gave me money because he had his own business. He opened accounts for me. He was sending me to do my hair every weekend. But it wasn't enough because what I know, the norm that I know, I wasn't getting, and that was the abuse. And surely, the second abuser came along, and he was exactly what I needed at that point. And I first told him, this is my situation, because he was younger than me. I said, I have 2 children. This is what I've been through. So I'm not ready for a relationship right now. And he pursued me like for many months, and I thought, if this guy is really pursuing me, he's serious about me. And eventually we started dating. He was of a different religion, so I had to change my religion, not just my religion, but I had to change my name as well. So I did all of that. And it wasn't long before the abuse started. And when the abuse started, it was really hectic. My bosses at work said to me, you can't be doing this to yourself. You're worth more. Because I was doing really well at work. And the fortunate thing for me was that no matter what I was going through in life, I did manage to still excel at what I was doing. And I was getting promotions at work, and the abuse with him was like way worse. It's like at times I couldn't even speak. He wanted to go out all the time. His friends were different from mine. I could see that the things that he was doing was not stuff that I actually wanted to be involved with. And the one day he was so drunk that he picked up my baby and he was standing on the windowsill and wanting to jump out. There were so many things that he did, and at that time the only thing that I was thinking was I wanted a family. I don't know whether it's just a maternal thing that you just try and hold on to having a family and just having a husband and children and a wife being together. I made all the wrong choices, for the reasons that I felt were right then. But if I had to do it over now, I would rather be a single parent with my children, giving them everything that I need, giving them more, especially an environment that they can be safe in, an environment where they would have peace and, not see what I was going through. A year after we were married, I had my third child with him, and nothing changed. He just got worse with the violence, and he gave a lot of attention to other women as well. And when I asked him about it, he used to always say, "No, it's just the way I am. It's my character. It's nothing. I would never cheat on you." To this day, I don't know whether he ever did, because he always denied it. What he started doing eventually, after the one day that he hit me and I asked him to leave, he took my son with him, and he was only a year old, and there was no way that I was going to let go of my child at that point. And I said to myself, no, I can't do that. So because of wanting my son back, I asked him to come back, and that eventually became the new norm, that whenever I asked him to leave, he would actually take my son with him. And this went on for many years, and he was in and out of jobs, always relying on me to be the sole provider financially. He would just walk out of a job and not even bother, that we had a household that we needed to take care of. And in 2011, we moved up to Johannesburg. I had a promotion at work, so I moved for that reason. He left his job in Durban, started a business here. And that's when everything just spiraled out of control, because the whole idea of him having a business, I think that idea just went too much into his head. He started joining all the wrong people. He started drugging and gambling, and eventually lost his business. He lost everything. Even then, I stood by him despite everything that he was doing. And, the worst thing was, as my boys grew older, my older son, he had to actually defend me. That was really selfish of me, to stay in a relationship where my children had to become adults. My son had to defend me, my daughter had to always check up on me after I was beaten, and I never really gave them a childhood. I robbed them of that, and now I know better. And when I spoke at a shelter in December last year, it was a turning point for me, because I said, if this is what I want to do and I want to actually help people out there, other women, I can't be living the same life. And it was very soon after that day of speaking that I decided, I need to end this. And I started divorce proceedings. My divorce went through on the 17th of February. And what I've realized, and what's more important now, is that when you leave a toxic relationship, you have to focus on yourself and you have to focus on your healing. If you don't, you're going to move from one demon to the next. And that's exactly what I did. I never gave myself the time of day to say that I need to fix myself, because there's something wrong with me. If I want the wrong thing, I want abuse, and it's not normal to want abuse. So this time around, after having left him in December, I have journals that I work on, 3 different journals for different areas of my life. I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm exercising more. I'm doing hikes. I'm starting to do all of the things that I love. And finding myself again, it's giving me a new sense of love and importance for myself, which I lacked before. During this whole time of me being in a toxic relationship, I lost my daughter for a while, because she said to me, "Mommy, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't want to speak to you, because we can't be going back and forth with you the whole time." And I wasn't angry with her at all. I was very hurt, but I understood, because when you're in a toxic environment, you don't have any boundaries. And I raised my children not having boundaries, and I was proud of her for making that step to say, "Mom, I'm not going to speak to you until you change your life." And that meant a lot to me. And I think that was also what made me want to work on myself and how I needed to improve. And I'm grateful that yesterday I got a call from my daughter after a year, and during this time of us not speaking, she fell pregnant, had a baby. My granddaughter's now 9 months old, and I'm finally going to get to see her. And I can see that better things are going to happen, and you don't need to stay in a situation or a relationship that you're not actually getting anything from. And my biggest fear, and what I'm working on right now, is to remind my boys every single day that what they saw is not the norm, and it's nothing that they must take forward in their own lives or their own families and their own relationships. Because they saw it happen all the time. They had to defend me all the time. They had to be there for mom, when he hit me and walked out. And that's exactly what I want to change. And I want my boys to be different in their relationships and in their families. I also have a campaign called Each One Help One, where I'm trying to reach out to women that are going through the same thing, and just to know that you're going to speak out. You're not going to be judged because it's not your fault. Nothing is ever your fault. I know the abuser always says that to you, that it's your fault. No one's ever going to love you like I do, but believe you me, the day you start loving yourself, you actually don't need anyone else to love you. And I've realized that from now, when I've started my process of healing through meditation and focusing on just being me again. Don't try and find your old self, because obviously with everything that you go through in life, some of that goes away, but try to focus on your new self and step out of these relationships, because we're stronger, and we're stronger together. And as women, I don't think we'll ever let each other down. So reach out, and we will be able to get through this. And to the men out there that are abusers, it's important that you speak out, because there is something wrong with you. If you're going to go through life thinking that what I'm doing is actually okay, even if you're going to leave a relationship or someone's going to leave you today, you're going to move on to the next relationship, and you're going to destroy someone else's life. You're going to destroy other families. So it's very important for the abusers, the men out there that are doing this, to also take a stand and say, yes, I am an abuser. If a woman can step up and say, I am a survivor or I am a victim because I'm still in a marriage, then I think it's important for men to step up and say, yes, I am an abuser, because that'll be a turning point for many men out there to say, I can now do this, I can change, and I can become a better person with the proper help. And you never know, there might be someone out there that can also help you to change, instead of us carrying through the cycle. Because even if women are going to leave toxic relationships, but that man, that abuser, is still there, and he's going to just carry it forward. So I think that's very important for the abusers to also step up and say, yes, there is something wrong with me, and I need to be sorted out, and I need to fix myself.